7 spine-chilling lake house horrors. Discover the sinister secrets beneath calm waters. Lisa's heart raced as she stood on the porch, staring at the lake. It shimmered, almost inviting, but something in its depths pulled at her gut. The townsfolk had smiled warmly as they welcomed her and her kids, but those smiles felt stretched, almost painted on. Whispers of drownings, freak accidents, they said, drifted through her mind like the fog settling over the water at dusk. Had she brought her children into a trap masked as a haven? She shook her head, trying to dispel the anxiety gnawing at her. Each night, the lake transformed. Shadows danced across its surface, the wind carrying ghostly laughter that chilled her to the bone. Children playing in the distance seemed to fade into the darkness, leaving only echoes behind. Then there was Carter, the handyman, a charming man with a disarming smile that both soothed and unsettled her. He showed up at odd hours, always finding a reason to be around their new home. Lisa couldn't help feeling a twinge of jealousy mixed with something more, but still, she trusted him with Sam and Mia. That, perhaps, had been her first mistake. "Mommy, look!" Sam exclaimed one evening. His eyes sparkled like the stars above as he pointed to the water. "The lake has friends, you know?" His innocent words made Lisa's heart sink. Where had he picked that up? And what did he mean by friends? Panic clawed at her throat during her late shifts at the diner. As she bussed tables, she overheard snippets of conversations. "The lake claims what it wants," the old postman warned one evening, his sunken eyes wide with something like fear. "You keep the kids away from it, you hear? There are things down there, things best left forgotten." Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Rumors churned in her mind as she flipped through dusty files found in an old cabinet, a stash of police reports that spoke of unsolved mysteries, odd disappearances, and dark secrets that had festered for decades. Their pristine house, overlooking that calm lake, was a facade. Each creak of the wooden floorboards echoed the horrors of the past, weaving tales of dread around her. The children's laughter had shifted to hushed giggles as they spent time with Carter. Lisa stood frozen in time when she saw them, their small figures illuminated by the pale moonlight, shadows creeping ever closer. Dread washed over her. Had they escaped the past only to step right into a new nightmare? That night, as she lay in bed, sleep eluded her. The lake whispered her name. The echoes grew louder, calling, yearning, clawing. She couldn't shake the feeling that something malevolent lurked just beneath the surface, biding its time. When a ripple broke the stillness, a blood-curdling scream tore through the air, felt like a shattering glass, piercing to her core. Just as her heart began to calm, she woke to silence. The children were gone. Panic surged as she stumbled outside, the world around her eerily quiet. The lake shimmered below, deceptive and serene. She felt it. The darkness beneath the water beckoned like a siren's call. As she squinted into the depths, a figure glinted just beneath the murky surface, and understanding dawned. The water didn't just hold secrets, it craved more. What lay beneath, was it waiting for her? Too? Lisa's breath caught in her throat, a scream threatening to bubble forth. The lake loomed, its surface now a malevolent mirror reflecting her terror. She squinted harder, trying to discern whatever lay beneath, but the darkness and the fear kept pulling her back. "Mom! Sam! Mia!" Her voice broke the stillness, cracking like thunder through the night. No answer, just the soft lapping of water against the shore, cruel and derisive. With every silent moment, panic twisted like a knife in her gut. She felt the weight of the past echoing around her, a dark chorus whispering that she should have never come. She lunged forward, her feet crunching on the gravel path that led to the water's edge. The moon cast ghostly silver across the surface, and each lapping wave seemed to pulse with a heartbeat. Shadows danced just out of reach, taunting her. What did Sam mean by friends? The townsfolk's warnings replayed in her mind. The postman's wide-eyed stare haunted her. The lake claims what it wants. The cabin felt like a prison now, with its walls closing in on her. Think, Lisa. You need to think. She dashed back inside, frantic. Maybe they were just playing hide and seek, but with Carter? No, she couldn't trust him, not anymore. Everything twisted in her mind. He felt too friendly, too familiar with them. Her feet thundered across the floorboards as she raced through the house. The shadows in the corners seemed to reach out, and for a split second, she thought she felt something brush past her. Heart racing, she turned to chase the phantom, only to be met with the chilling emptiness of the living room. With every room she searched, the air grew colder. The windows rattled with the wind, and she bit her lip to suppress the cry building again. Sam. Mia. Each call felt swallowed by the darkness. She barely breathed, straining to hear even a whisper. Finally, she stumbled into the kitchen and snatched her phone from the counter. The screen flickered, but there was no service. Damn it, she muttered, feeling a fresh wave of dread crash over her. Suddenly, the back door creaked softly. A breeze swept in, strange and unnatural, carrying a voice that whispered her name. Lisa. It was soft, like a lullaby, yet it dripped with malice. Adrenaline surged through her, and without a second thought, she flung the door open. Outside, the night was alive, the shadows writhing as if the very earth was breathing. The water's edge was closer, almost pulling her in as if it were a living entity. Sam. Mia. There on the shore, she spotted them, two small figures standing at the lake, staring deep into the abyss. Her heart pounded louder, fear flooding her veins like ice water. They were entranced, their faces glowing with an unsettling calmness as if waiting for something or someone. Get away from there, she shouted, lunging forward to pull them back. But just as she reached them, a low growl emerged from the water. The surface rippled violently, reshaping somehow, and Lisa froze as two glowing eyes suddenly broke the surface. Inching closer, the children pivoted slowly, their smiles eerily stretching, eyes devoid of recognition. Mommy, it's our friends, they chimed in unison, voices eerily synchronized, sending chills down her spine. The lake surged again, and for the first time, she truly understood. This wasn't just a body of water. It was a predator, and she had unwittingly put herself and her children into its grasp. Wake up. Snap out of it. Panic surged again as she rushed toward them, the shadows morphing and swirling around her like a dark fog, thick and suffocating. The children turned their smiles towards her, but their eyes were lost cold, somewhere far beyond the surface of her reality. Mommy, don't you want to play? In that terror-stricken moment, Lisa knew the lake wasn't merely watching. It was inviting, ensnaring, and if she didn't act fast, it would take everything she held dear. What could she do? The whispers grew louder, malevolent echoes pulling her toward the water, and then the deep voice of the lake rumbled once more. Join us forever. Lisa felt the ground shudder beneath her feet, her resolve crumbling. Would she fight to save them from the abyss, or follow them into the depths of despair? A flash of light appeared in the darkness. Was it a way out, or something even more sinister? Without thinking, she lunged. The answer awaited just beyond the shadows. Would she be bold enough to confront the lake and its horrors, or would she sink beneath the waves, lost forever? As Lisa dove toward the glimmer, dread enveloped her like a shroud. The chill of the evening air clawed at her skin. She was racing against time, against a terrible force that promised to consume everything she loved. The children's voices echoed in her mind, harmonizing the sinister invitation of the lake. Mommy, don't you want to play? The light danced just out of reach, flickering like a dying star. She stretched her hand, fingertips brushing against its warmth, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm. Sam. Mia, she cried again, more desperate this time, clawing at the deceitful calm that had taken hold of her family. The moment her fingers touched the light, It vanished, snuffed out like a candle. The ground shook beneath her, and she stumbled back, a grim realization crashing over her. A thick fog seeped from the water's edge, clawing and curling toward her, smothering her like an unwanted embrace. Muffled whispers filled the air, a chorus of voices from the depths. Come closer, come play, join us, they surged like a wave, pulling her down. She felt the earth tremble as she fought to stay upright. Not today, she shouted, forcing the words out as the fog wrapped tighter around her. A jolt of terror coursed through her when she glanced back at her children. They stood there, still entranced, eyes wide, nearly glazed over. Their faces were reflections of horror and wonder, caught between the seduction of the lake and their mother's desperate plea. Fight it! Fight whatever this is! She screamed, adrenaline lighting a fire inside her. Without thinking, she raced back to them, pushing through the mist that clawed at her skin. Each step felt heavier, as if the very earth was trying to drag her down into its depths. She reached them just as they began to sway, drawn closer to the dark water that beckoned like a siren. With one swift motion, she grabbed a hand in each of hers. The warmth of their skin against her trembling fingers was a lifeline, a spark of hope in the encroaching despair. We're leaving. Now. Lisa pulled hard, her muscles straining against the weight of their dazed forms. But resistance was a losing battle. The children's small bodies jerked backward, and their faces took on an unsettling blankness, as if something or someone had wrapped its cold fingers around their minds. Mommy, we want to play. Their voices were whispers now, thin and eerie. No, she shouted, panic surging. Everything she loved was slipping through her fingers like sand. The shadows roared back, thrumming like a heartbeat beneath her feet, ready to pull her in. Sinking her nails into her children's hands, she turned and sprinted away from the water. The shadows lunged, reaching for her, desperately clawing. She panted, feeling the cold nip at her back, whispering promises of comfort, of giving in to the dark. Carter, she called, praying he would somehow break the spell. But silence was the only answer as she pulled her children away. She stumbled upon an object half buried in the damp earth. A shard of glass, jagged and sharp. It glinted dully in the moonlight, a reminder of the world that had been taken. In that moment of clarity, she understood. The water, the shadows, the voices, this was all an illusion conjured by the lake. It was feeding on fear, on despair, and it wanted to claim them. Stay with me, she urged, the urgency pounding in her ears. Trust me. Lisa thrust the shard forward, holding it as a weapon, as if it could sever the bond between her children and this dark enemy. But just as she turned to lead them away from the shore, the lake stirred violently, and she gasped as a dark shape broke through the surface. It surged up, twisting and turning, every feature obscured in the blackness. No more games, no more pretending. In that moment, she knew it was now or never. Join us, it beckoned, and she felt its voice wrap around her like a noose. Would she have the strength to fight back? Or would the darkness swallow them whole? The air thickened, weighty with despair and uncertainty. As the creature lunged forward, claws glistening from the lake, Lisa braced herself, heart racing. She had to make a choice. What would she sacrifice to save her children? The ground trembled one last time. Lisa, help us, the chilling plea sent a shiver straight to her core. And in that harrowing moment, she realized the lake's truth. Lisa's heart thundered in her chest, each beat echoing her fear as the lake's dark shape emerged. The creature twisted, its form shifting like oil on water, gliding just beneath the surface, disturbing the glassy lake. The ghostly whispers grew louder, swirling around her, promising unending peace in exchange for her children. Panic clawed at her insides. Mommy Mia's voice trembled, a whisper barely audible over the sinister cacophony. I want to play. No, you don't want to play with it. Lisa's voice cut through the fog of her children's trance, desperation turning to desperation. She tightened her grip, feeling the little fingers slip slightly in her sweat-slicked palms. The ground shook with a low rumble, threatening to swallow her whole. The glass shard glinted in the fading light, a pathetic weapon against the encroaching darkness. but it was all she had. "Close your eyes," Lisa cried, fear blowing through her like a sharp wind. Without waiting for a response, she turned and faced the lake, ready to confront the monstrous darkness that sought to claim her family. The thing surged forward. It emerged from the depths, an awful amalgamation of forms, faces twisted in silent screams, eyes wide with terror. It lurked just outside the reach of her light, a shadowy beast anchored by the weight of despair. "Let them go." The words erupted from her throat like a battle cry, fierce and defiant. She brandished the shard, heart racing but refusing to back down. "You can't have them." The creature recoiled as her voice broke through the fog. For a heartbeat, Lisa felt a jolt of hope. The whispers softened, replaced by a haunting silence. But it was fleeting. Tentacles of darkness surged forward, rushing to envelop her and her children, pulling them toward the shimmering surface of the lake. A sudden flash of memory hit. The last time they were all together laughing, playing, and her heart ached. She felt the familiar warmth of their laughter wrap around her. With renewed fervor, she shouted, "Sam, Mia, remember when we built a sandcastle? We made it bigger than you." The darkness hesitated, a flicker of confusion piercing through the veil. The creature writhed, as if struggling against a force it didn't understand. "Look," she screamed, voice cracking. "Do you want to play in the sand again?" And for a moment the spell faltered. Mia blinked, confusion glimmering in her eyes as if the fog were lifting. But Sam remained lost, mouth open in a silent plea. "Sam, please," Lisa urged, her hands shaking. "Remember your birthday? The cake? You got the blue frosting everywhere." Shadows receded slightly, stretching as if in pain. Lisa seized the moment and pulled her children closer, the warmth of their little bodies grounding her against the terror that clawed at her sanity. But then the earth shuddered again with a vicious intensity. The creature bellowed, an unholy sound that reverberated through her bones. It surged forward, tentacles reaching for her, shimmering with darkness. "Run," she yelled, revving her strength. With every ounce of willpower, she raced toward the trees lining the shoreline. She didn't look back. She didn't want to see what lurked behind her, clawing its way from the depths. But the whispers returned, louder and more frantic. "Join us, give in, we are waiting." Suddenly, Mia's hand slipped from her grasp. Lisa's heart stopped. She whirled around just in time to see her daughter being pulled toward the lake, arms outstretched, her small face blank but desperate. "Mommy!" Mia cried. Lisa lunged forward, teeth grit, diving to save her. If she didn't, the darkness would drag her under. If she did, what price would it demand? The fog thickened, rich with despair. She plunged into it, hands outstretched, eyes filled with terror, knowing time was slipping away, and just as a chilling silence fell, another voice broke through. "Mom! Help!" It didn't come from Mia. It came from somewhere deeper, a voice she had never heard before. What other horrors lay beneath the surface? What secrets were the lake hiding that would test her beyond all limits? The fog pressed in, thick and heavy, wrapping around Lisa like a suffocating blanket. She gasped, the cold air biting her lungs as she struggled against the force pulling her child away. "Mia!" she screamed, voice raw with desperation. The lake glimmering, dangerous and dark. The tentacles twisted, blurring the lines between flesh and shadow as they tightened their grip. Each heartbeat echoed against her ribs, a painful reminder that time was slipping through her fingers. With one hand gripping the shard of glass, Lisa propelled herself forward, every instinct screaming to bolt back to the trees. But there was no time. "Mia, just hold on. I'm coming." Much to her horror, the water began to bubble and froth around her daughter, a sign that the thing below took pleasure in the fear it provoked. Lisa plunged deeper into the darkness, refusing to let the despair drown her reason. She was not just Lisa anymore. She was a mother, ready to fight for every ounce of light left in her children. The whispers morphed into frantic chants, beckoning her with promises of eternal peace. "Join us. All will be forgotten. You will never be alone again." With each syllable, Lisa felt the familiar weight of doubt creeping in, slipping her resolve like water. But a flicker of movement caught her eye, a glimpse of Sam, his expression a mix of confusion and terror. "Sam!" she yelled, her heart racing faster than ever. "Help me! We're almost there." But the creature shifted, colder and darker than before, and the ground trembled again. The flickering light from the shard cast monstrous shadows on the trees, making them appear as gnarled hands reaching for her, begging for salvation from the chaos. In that instant, Lisa understood. This monster thrived on fear and doubt, devouring the light of hope. Desperation fueled her, igniting a primal urge to protect. "You will not take my children," she shouted, voice booming across the surface, startling the silence of the night. Suddenly, the weight on her chest lifted an inch, and she felt Mia's tiny hand perk up, a spark of strength ignited by her mother's call. "Mommy!" Mia cried out again, a flicker of hope woven within the darkness. The creature shrieked in rage, the sound like 1,000 mournful wails. The water roiled and churned, and Lisa felt a surge of adrenaline rush through her. She pushed against the current, tears streaming down her cheeks, fighting not just for Mia but for all the moments they had shared, those precious slivers of happiness that light both her children's faces. "Recollect. Remember the stories I told you?" She launched into her memories, recalling bedtime tales and sun-soaked days. "Remember the time we danced in the rain? The laughter that echoed in the house?" In that torrent of sound and memory, the spirit of her children began to flicker back. A glow ignited in their eyes, a thin line of defiance that cut through the dark. The creature seemed to falter, hesitation rippling across its sludge-like form. Lisa felt a surge of power wrap around her, woven from the joys of motherly love and sacrifice. She was not some prey for it to feast on. "Together," she shouted a rallying cry. "Grab my hand." But even as they moved towards her, an unforgiving force yanked at Lisa's heart. The unsettling voice echoed deeper, now the voice that called her. "Mom! Help!" Fingers trembled, heart racing. Lisa stood frozen. Who was that voice belonging to? "Mom! Come on!" Mia surged forward, panic lacing her tone. Sam reached out, pulling away from the creature clinging to him. They were close, yet the terror loomed, more massive than ever. A flash crossed her mind, seconds felt like hours. Was that a plea from below? Was this darkness preying not only on her children but something more sinister lurking, waiting to emerge? Suddenly an arm shot out from the water. Cold, skeletal, it extended toward her, a jagged silhouette that twisted and turned. "Mom!" Sam shouted, eyes wide with terror. Her breath hitched. This was beyond what she had imagined. Who or what wanted her now? Lisa had to act. But could she fend off the darkness tearing at her reality while keeping her children safe? As screams echoed through the night, they were not just of her daughters, but of something far worse lurking below. What other horrors awaited if she lost this fight? What nightmares were hidden beneath the surface, just waiting for a moment of weakness to strike? Lisa's heart thundered in her chest like a drum signaling impending doom. The skeletal arm lunged closer, almost grazing her fingers. She recoiled, her instincts screaming to flee. But her children needed her. She couldn't turn back. "Mia! Sam!" she yelled, the panic coiling tighter around her throat. "Hold on to each other." The water boiled with malice, thrashing and screaming as shadows writhed beneath its surface. The whispers twisted into shrieks, demanding to be heard, and Lisa's mind frayed at the edges. She could feel the strength of the creature's grip tightening around them, trying to siphon the light right from her soul. "Mama!" Mia cried out, her small face reflecting terror. Desperation cut through Lisa like a knife. "I'm here." She plunged one hand deeper into the icy water, reaching for them, hoping to bridge the chasm that the creature created. Together, just a bit closer. The shard of glass glinted in her hand like a beacon in the darkness, but she knew it would be useless against this dark malevolence. Then she spotted it, a glimmer at the edge of her memory, a story they once shared by the campfire, when she recounted the spirit of the lake. That night under the stars. "Remember?" Lisa shouted, grasping for anything that could anchor them. The old lady who danced across the surface? She was a protector, but the creature roared, thrashing in rage, as if it sensed her rallying words. The ground beneath her rippled, shaking with fury. Sam and Mia were reaching for her, but just out of grasp, and snared in the claws of despair. "Let go of my children," she screamed, summoning everything she had left. The air thickened and crackled with energy, a tangible vibration that pulsed through the fog. She couldn't lose them. Not now. The screams of her children mixed with the monstrous wails enveloping her. She spun around, feeling the cold grasp of panic pulling her under. "No, I will not let you take them." Lisa plunged the shard into the water, piercing the surface with a deafening splash. Felt like a vow, a final stand. Light erupted from the shard, glowing like a sun against the night. The mist recoiled, swirling back as monstrous shadows shrank away, fear rippling across the surface like a stone dropped in still water. "Mama!" Mia shouted, her voice suddenly breaking through the horror. "Grab my hand!" Lisa shouted, urging her children forward, praying the power of her love would create a safety net. The light from the shard surged brighter, casting out the thick fog. Shadows writhed, blackened arms retreating like a frightened beast cornered by light. Yet still lurking, hungry and relentless, Mia and Sam surged toward her, clasping her fingers, their tiny hands warm against the frigid water. A moment of triumph pulsed through her. But even as she pulled them closer, she sensed the creature shifting. "No, no." A low, guttural growl rose from the depths, a sound that promised vengeance. The water began to bubble again, stronger, angrier than before. Suddenly, Lisa felt it something sharper, a violent tug on her waist. The weight of dread sank deep, realizing that another hand was reaching for her from below, seeking to claim her, to drag her under. "Mama!" Sam cried as the cold grip tightened, pulling not just her but her children too. "Hold on. Don't let go," she shouted, fear flooding her heart. But as she struggled, caught in a web of darkness, she felt her footing slip and the creature's laughter echoed, cruel and insatiable, as it prepared to pull her under once and for all. Lisa's world spun painfully as she fought, but the creature's laughter rose around her, intoxicating and relentless. Could they survive the darkness? Or would they become a part of its eternal feast? As the icy tendrils closed in, a chilling realization swept over Lisa. In the depth of fear, there lay a sacrifice, an unspeakable choice loomed ahead. What was the price for saving her children? What shadows would she have to face to reclaim the light? The world above the water was fading, enveloped in a haze of terror and despair. Lisa fought against the relentless grip of the creature, its cold fingers like icy serpents wrapping around her waist. The children's cries pierced her like daggers, fueling her desperation but also weighing her down. "Mama!" The word echoed, filled with anguish and fear. She could feel Sam and Mia's small bodies trembling, clinging to her with every ounce of strength they had left. "Don't let go," she shouted, driven by a primal instinct to protect them at all costs. The light from the glass shard flickered, its glow dimming as the shadows swarmed closer, hungry for the warmth of their lives. The icy depths churned violently, and the creature's growl transformed into a howl, a cacophony of wrath that rattled her bones. A darkness enveloped them, thick and suffocating, edging out the fragile light. Lisa could feel her pulse quicken as panic clawed at her throat. Bubbles erupted around them, sending ripples of darkness swirling as the water thrashed mercilessly. Then she remembered the story, the protector of the lake. Hadn't it once been a beacon of hope? With a surge of determination, Lisa screamed into the darkness, "I call upon the spirit of the lake. Help us." A chilling silence descended, swallowing the sound of thrashing water. For a heartbeat, hope flickered within her. Surely, the lake had not forgotten its ancient guardian. The light from the shard began to pulse again, illuminating the chaos around them, showing glimpses of fearsome faces twisted in rage, half-formed shadows that twitched and recoiled from the light. But the silence didn't last. The creature responded with fury, thrashing violently, and in its rage it struck. The water exploded outward, knocking Lisa back. The shard slipped from her grip, sinking down into the abyss. A guttural roar erupted, drowning out the children's cries. No! A wave of despair swept over her. As the glow faded, she felt the icy grip intensify, pulling her deeper into the depths. She could see Mia and Sam being tugged apart, their hands slipping from each other's, and a new kind of fear seeped into her, a terror worse than the dark. "Mama, please!" Mia's voice broke through, raw and pleading, its softness drowned by the monstrous roars echoing through the water. Lisa's vision blurred as the coldness intensified, immersing her in a frigid shroud. Summoning the last of her will against the encroaching shadows, she plunged into the depths. She reached for the glass shard, now just a distant glimmer below. She gasped, the icy liquid invading her lungs as darkness clawed at her mind, feeding off her despair. To the bottom, the world transformed. Shadows writhed, revealing faces twisted in agony. The spirits of those long lost to the lake's greed. Their hollow eyes mirrored her fear. The creature that held her captive loomed nearby, a monstrous figure wrapped in shadows and despair. In that terrifying moment, Lisa understood this was not just a fight for survival but a battle for her very soul. The choice echoed in her mind. Save her children but lose herself, or find a way to fight not just for them, but against the darkness threatening to consume them all. With a sudden rush of defiance, she opened her mind to the stories of the Protector, weaving them together in a tapestry of words and memories. The lake had its secrets. Did it also harbor a way to reverse the darkness? In one last desperate act, she locked eyes with her children, steadying them through the turmoil. Together, she screamed, not just words, but a summons to the spirits surrounding them. And with that cry, triumph surged through her. The shadows paused, as if in uncertainty, as she poured her love into the depths, a light brighter than fear itself. But just as hope ignited, a shadow loomed, one darker and more terrible than any before. Something even the spirits feared emerged from the darkness, ready to claim what it wanted. What would it take to ward off this final, dreadful force? What harrowing choice awaited them at the bottom of the lake? The darkness twisted and contorted, not just a shadow but a living, breathing entity. Lisa's heart pounded in her chest, fear coursing through her body like venom. It loomed closer, sleek and silent, its intentions hidden beneath a facade of dread. The spirits around her huddled back, retreating into the darkness as if they sensed something worse than their own torment. "Mama!" Sam and Mia's voices wobbled, thin and fragile, echoing in the darkness. Their hands began to feel like weights, slipping further away. Lisa clawed through the cold, chasing them, but the water pushed back, thick as molasses. She could feel time warping, heartbeats stretching into eternity, while her breath dwindled. Please, not again. She could hardly think. Panic surged, blinding her momentarily. The shadow pulsed, responding to her fear, growing larger, expanding its dark tendrils towards her. It wrapped around her, tightening like a noose. She gasped, choking on the icy gloom as it slid across her skin. How could something so dark exist in a place that was once beautiful? But then, a flicker of warmth ignited in her chest. Those stories about the Protector, wasn't there always a choice? A grassroots battle was rising within her. "Ancient spirit," she shouted, her voice breaking through the icy grip, "reveal yourself. We need you now." With each word, the light within her pulsed outward, pushing against the shadow's oppressive force. The darkness rippled, shrinking back slightly, hesitant. Was it fear? The thought sparked a glimmer of hope. Suddenly, a profound sadness washed over her, a wave of lost souls. They didn't want to be consumed. They wanted freedom, reconciliation. Lisa reached deep within her own desperately beaten heart. "Hold on," she screamed, driving her will into the water. "We're not alone. We're together." The tremor of her voice echoed throughout the murky depths. In that moment, she felt them. All of them, strangers, guardians, lost children, all bound together by sorrow and fear, but now merging with her fiery determination. With the urgency of a mother's love, she burst through the cold walls of despair, a force of primal instinct flooding the dark waters. The shadow recoiled, vibrating with rage, its dark tendrils shriveling back from the glowing warmth radiating off Lisa's heart. But then, sensing the shift, the shadow uncoiled itself like a snake ready to strike. "You think you can save them?" A sepulchral voice rasped, chilling Lisa to her core. "You have no idea what lurks in your heart, the darkness that has grown." The words were daggers, slicing through her newfound courage. Doubt weaved itself into her mind. What if she was wrong? What if they were better off leaving this dark place? "Mama!" Sam's desperate cry pierced through the fog of uncertainty. "No!" Lisa howled, forcefully shaking off the creeping despair. She felt the spirits at her back, their agony no longer hers but transformed into strength. What was lost can be found again. With blistering energy, Lisa pooled all her love, her will, and the relentless cries of her children into one final surge. The glow intensified, illuminating the shadowy demon confronting her, forcing it to reveal its true form, a grotesque, gaping maw full of teeth, blacker than the deepest night. As it lunged forward, time slowed, and Lisa faced the terrifying visage of fear that wanted to swallow her whole. "I choose love," she screamed, her voice shattering the water's stillness. The light around her flared, pulsing, and she felt the shadows reeling back as her love and hope collided with the looming horror. But even in the light, she could feel the flickers of doubt, the fear that the shadow had planted there still gnawing at her. Was this enough? As the shadow writhed, contending with the radiating warmth, the lake trembled, stirring up memories and lost power. But a new voice whispered within, luring her deeper into the darkness. What ancient truth lay buried beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered? Could it be the only thing that could break the cycle of despair? Darkness and light waged a vicious war around her as Lisa dared to face the heart of the lake's ancient power. The shadow roared, its fury echoing in the cavernous depths. Lisa felt it vibrate through her bones, a bone-deep fear that threatened to keep her tethered to the darkness. She could almost sense the weight of it, an oppressive gloom that demanded surrender. But beneath her fear lay a flicker of defiance, warming her resolve. "Come on, Lisa," she whispered to herself, fists clenched. "You've faced worse." The water churned violently around her as the entity snapped its teeth, sending ripples of chilling cold across her skin. It reared back as her light surged forth, battling the darkness. Yet every pulse of her love met with fierce resistance. The whispers in the shadows twisted and turned, tugging at her thoughts, dredging up memories that threatened to drown her spirit. "Don't listen. Don't give in." An image flickered in her mind, a brisk morning in the sun-drenched backyard, the children laughing as they splashed in the pool, carefree and whole. Their joy pierced through the murk like a lifeline. "Mama!" they called again, their cries fracturing the stillness. But now they sounded different, faint echoes, fading away. Panic seized Lisa's heart. "No, no." The shadow sensed her weakening resolve, coiling back to strike. "You can't escape your truth," it hissed, tauntingly. "It's woven into the very fabric of your being." What truth? What darkness lay hidden in her soul? Lisa felt her heart race, the uncertainty clawing at her. "I won't let you take them," she shouted defiantly, accentuating her words with the light swelling inside her. Memories flooded her mind with a frightening clarity, memories of her own failures, her impatience, the anger she had buried deep. How could she hope to save her children? Would they not be better off without her curse? "Shut up! Shut up!" she screamed, fighting against the shadow's voice. Just then, the water around her began to glow, illuminating the faces of lost souls trapped in the depths. They looked at her, pleading and sorrowful, some familiar, some strange. Each face echoed her own missteps, her own doubts. They were a part of her, a reminder of the weight she carried. "You're not alone," a voice rang out among them, steady and reassuring. It struck Lisa in the chest like a heartening riff of music. Could they all be saved? She focused on that thread of hope, allowing it to weave through the darkness like an elixir. "I will break this cycle," she shouted, her heart pounding to the rhythm of her words. It was enough. The light surged, vibrant and fierce, igniting the lake's surface. In a dazzling flash, the shadow shrieked, its tendrils snapping like dry branches underfoot. The water stirred violently as colors erupted beneath the surface, casting reflections that danced around Lisa, illuminating the darkness like a dawning day. But it was a momentary victory. The shadow ripped free and lunged again, seeking to devour her light. Lisa braced herself. The darkness screeched as it closed in. Then she felt it, the ancient power beneath the lake reaching out, resonating with her own. It wasn't darkness. It was depth. In that breathless instant, Lisa understood. She needed to embrace everything, every fragment of herself, both light and dark. "Then I choose to know it all," she declared with a fierce resolve, as the lake seethed and swirled. But just as she prepared to fully confront the ancient mystery buried within, a cacophony of whispers howled through the water, a mix of despair and laughter. The lake began to shift violently, pulling her deeper. "What have you unearthed?" the sepulchral voice echoed, mingling with the cries of both the lost souls and her children's pleas. The tremors intensified, and the water around her surged, dragging her down into its depths. Darkness wrapped around her, its icy grip closing in. Could embracing her own darkness save them all? Or would it ultimately be her doom? As the lake yawned beneath her, Lisa slipped into the abyss, the unmistakable tug of destiny pulling her closer to a terrifying truth. Lisa's body jolted in the freezing darkness, the icy grip of the lake pulling fiercely at her as she plunged deeper. The chill pierced her to the bone, but she forced her needle-thin focus on Sam and Mia's fading voices, desperate and echoing. She could not lose them, not here, not now. "Remember what I said," she whispered fiercely to herself, gathering her thoughts, steadying her resolve. "Your love is stronger than anything." But doubt crept in, slimy and suffocating, whispering that she was just a flawed mother. Then, as the darkness twisted around her like rushing water, something sparked at her core, a flicker of warmth igniting amidst the dread. The ancient powers of the lake surged around her, nearly palpable, called forth by her defiance. "Don't give up," she shouted against the cacophony, but the cold shadow constricted around her heart, tightening like a vice. Suddenly, memories flooded, brief flashes of sunlight on a summer's day, laughter that danced through the air. Each moment warmed her, pulling her from the edge of despair. "Fight through it," she screamed, arms reaching out as if she could pull her children into her embrace. "Mommy, please." Mia's voice shattered the veil of silence, brittle and frail. It spurred Lisa forward, defying the pull of the abyss. "I'm coming. Hold on, baby," she called, fueling her determination with every ounce of love she had cultivated within. Lisa recollected the stories of the lake she'd told her children, tales that carried with them the power of hope, tales that had once brought solace. "I call upon the spirit of the lake," she cried, channeling that hope. "Protect my children. You know we belong here." The shadows roared, thrashing violently, almost as if the lake itself acknowledged her plea. She felt the creature real, a grotesque entity of darkness swirling, its form chaotic and repelling. Suddenly, something bright shimmered in the distance, a luminescence flickering like the heartbeat of the lake. It beckoned her, urging her to come closer. "Sam, Mia, look," Lisa shouted, feeling their small hands reach for her, almost within grasp. Hope surged through her veins, breaking the chains of despair, as the pulse of the light began illuminating the dark waters. "Mommy, we see you," they cried, voices now touched with urgency, instinctively understanding that the warmth she emanated was their salvation. With every ounce of strength, she swam closer, the shadows clawing at her like desperate hands. She had to reach them, had to overcome the darkness that sought to ensnare her family. "Together," she screamed, locking eyes with them. "Together we can escape this." The lake trembled at her resolve, shadows retreating slightly as she pushed forward. The light surged brighter, freeing lost souls, casting away the darkness like a new dawn breaking over the horizon. They could do this, she could save them. Take my hand, Lisa shouted, reaching across the depths, the warmth flowing from her blossoming hope mingling with love for her children. Mia surged forward, hands trembling as she grasped her mother's with all her might. Sam, with determination and clarity, followed, reaching for Lisa. For a moment, time stood still, the world around them crystallizing as the laser focus of hope painted over the terrors that sought to engulf them. They were together, bonded not just in blood but in unwavering love. I won't let you go, Lisa declared fiercely, eyes locking onto the shadows as they writhed in frustration, trying to reclaim what was theirs. And with that, as Lisa pulled them into her embrace, a radiant explosion of light erupted from the shard of glass she had held tight. It unfurled like a dawn, breaking the warmth filling the water, a cleansing light washing the darkness aside. No, the entity shrieked, retreating as the light shattered the twilight grasp once and for all that they propelled upward through the water. The darkness slipped away, shadows shriveling back like weeds in the sun. Lisa opened her mouth to scream but felt only air fill her lungs as they broke the surface, gasping and panting, exposed to the cool night air that sang sweetly of salvation. Mommy! Sam and Mia clawed at her, panic etching their tiny features. We thought we lost you. Tears streamed down Lisa's cheeks, merging with the lake water as joy and relief coursed through her like electricity. You're safe. We are all safe now. The three of them emerged like phoenixes from ashes, as the moonlight gleamed on the shattered glass floating in the water, a signal of triumph, victory over the malevolent forces. In that moment, they knew they would never again allow fear to grip them. The lake, with all its secrets, could no longer hold them captive. The shadows receded into the night, defeated and empty, forever put to rest by the light of love as they huddled together, breathless but alive. Lisa wrapped her arms around her precious children, knowing they had conquered the darkness that threatened to tear them apart. The bond had been tested and forged anew in the crucible of despair, but love had triumphed. With the lake shimmering behind them, they turned and walked home, the dawn of a new day breaking ahead. This was not just a tale of survival. It was a reminder that the fiercest love shines brightest in the face of darkness. If you loved this conclusion and want to see more spine-chilling stories that pulse with emotion, you need to subscribe now. Don't miss any exclusive tales. Hit that bell for all notifications. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and let the world know you loved this ride. Flood the comments with your reactions and wild theories about this ending. And please, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. Your support matters, and only true fans understand how important it is.